Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Layer by Layer, the show about 3D printing and our place within the industry. Today we're going to talk about Nano Dimension coming back again, what's coming down for the new year, 3D printed shoes, and it looks like how the testing Kickstarter is going. All that and more coming along in just a minute, but starting off, Nano Dimension. So, Nano Dimension has made a bid to acquire Stratasys at $16.50 a share. If this sounds familiar, it's because this has happened about 3 times before in the last 6 months. Nano Dimension has about $800 million in cash sitting around. They're a very cash-rich company. Of the 3D printing companies, they're one of the most cash-rich. Anyhow, they're an Israel-based firm, which is they're being very active given the situation over there. But good for them. They're going after Stratasys again. In response to this, Stratasys on the 22nd, reported by TCT, Stratasys adopted a limited duration rights plan to protect shareholder long-term interests. Stratasys has historically not wanted to be acquired by Nano Dimension. They were going to maybe merge with 3D Systems a little while ago, and then they were going to do the Desktop Metal acquisition, which fell through. And quite frankly, I've forgotten why the Desktop Metal acquisition fell through. I don't know what it was. It's all so funny. There was a reason, and it was public, but it just didn't happen. But now Nano Dimension is like, Stratasys, you're not doing anything, huh? Well, we want you. So anyhow, it's going to be, I would say that I would imagine it'll be tough for Stratasys to push this one off, because to have literally every other option fall through up to this point, it'll be pretty funny. So yeah, anyhow, as far as what Stratasys is doing, the limited rights plan, per TCT, the 3D printing pioneer says the plan, which replaces its current shareholder right plan that was set to expire at the end of the year, contains enhanced shareholder protections that are intended to limit the scope of the rights plan. The rights plan is designed to give shareholders, other than the offerer, a way to voice their position directly to the board on certain types of offers and whether the plan should apply to those offers. It also seeks to limit the likelihood that any entity, person, or group would gain control or significant influence over Stratasys through the open market or accumulation of shares without appropriately compensating Stratasys shareholders. So basically what this does is it prevents Nano Dimension from just continually buying up shares until they just have controlling interest in Stratasys. This is a check and balance to this. But Stratasys confirms it is not intended to entirely prevent attempts to purchase the company. That's kind of an interesting statement, that they have not wanted to be purchased by Nano Dimension. But that statement with this rehashed rights plan is kind of like a double-edged sword of like, we don't want you, Stratasys, we're going to watch for you. But if anybody else is around, we are considering purchases. So, yeah, I honestly don't know why Stratasys has had such burr under their saddle about the Nano Dimension deal. And I don't have an opinion on the topic, really. They do what they do. Stratasys is about $1.5 billion valuation. Nano Dimension, I think, is also about $1 billion valuation, and has more money right now. So, is what it is. But anyhow, in other public market wheeling dealings, Velo3D raised $18 million versus a registered direct offering. With 2 stories about the public markets. We talk about the public markets quite a bit. I'm an engineer. This is a 3D printing podcast. The fact that we're talking about 3D printing companies in the public markets this often is hilarious. But there's no other news. And this is drama, and it's funny, and it's cool, and it's kind of fun. And I enjoy the business component of it, but still at the same time, when all of our other videos are generally technically focused, it's kind of funny. Side note, tangent, whatever it was. They raised $18 million. The $18 million is to address current financial challenges. The company had entered into securities purchase agreements with an existing lender of the company. And it was the sale of 36,000 shares, which, about 50 cents a share. So anyhow, Velo3D has run into financial straits, and they've had a big old shakeup over there. We talked about that a little bit last week, I believe. $18 million is not a lot of money. And I don't know what their financial straits are, but they must be dire to make the $18 million interesting in the context of where their problems were. We broke down their balance sheet last week. I think they had like $120 million on the books, according to the balance sheet. But to have burned through that much cash this quickly, I don't know what they've done in the last quarter or even the last year off the top of my head, but the last quarter isn't reported. So I don't know why it suddenly got tough. But anyway, they got that looks like flailing. To fire the CEO and then raise only $18 million through one of your existing lenders is interesting. But anyway, Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton unveils LV Cobra 3D printed sneaker with Zellerfeld. Oh, this is great. This is good stuff. By the way, guys, if you don't know Zellerfeld, and most of you should, Zellerfeld is a really cool company. We worked with them a little bit about 4 or 5 years ago when they were really started. And Cornelia Schmidt, who was the CEO over there, reached out to us for printing of the shoes initially before they had developed their own machines for the shoes. Because they went down a route to where a standard, our type of server-based kind of standard 3D printer wasn't viable for what they were doing with the material. And the experimentation that they wanted to get done. But no, they are partnering with Louis Vuitton. It wasn't like an official partnership. The product designer of the shoes, of the Cobras, tagged Zellerfeld in a photo of the shoes on Instagram, kind of announcing it. But this is per Voxel Matters. The company partnered with Zellerfeld to create a slip-on model dubbed the LV Cobra. The latest collaboration proves once again that 3D printing may not change the entire footwear industry in the short term, but it can offer the ability to create Crocs-like products that can be customized and styled to a degree that they can appeal to some of the world's top fashion designers. Okay, Voxel Matters. If any movie buffs are out there, in The Devil Wears Prada, Meryl Streep goes after Anne Hathaway in a scene where she is... I don't want to say... She's dressing down Anne Hathaway in a very vicious Meryl Streep fashion designer kind of a way. And she says, that color blue that you're wearing is actually fuchsia blue or whatever else it was. And it was seen 10 years ago with the fashion designer, whatever his face did, whatever. And then it circled around until it ended up in the bargain basement bin that you fished it out of. A 3D printed sneaker in a fashion show is not a new thing. This has been happening for a decade now. But every time it happens, fashion designers who do design the shoes and sweaters that we all use are reminded of it and consider it the next time they come around. The reason 3D printed shoes have not caught on is because they don't have historically not had scale. That's changed. Literally, organizations like us allow mass production of sneakers. Zellerfeld's built a couple of smaller farms with a few hundred machines inside of them to produce their shoes, where they've done limited runs and that kind of thing. But Zellerfeld is very much a brand-based type of company, and that is the way to do it. And it's a very focused, controlled way of doing it to where they can sell these very high-end, very exclusive, very specifically designed shoes to celebrities and more expensive clientele who want something truly unique rather than the latest Jordan that came out. I mean, Jordans are great for around, but like if you're really wanting to set a standard or make a fashion statement, you don't want what everybody else can get a hold of. And Zellerfeld has done this multiple times before. They did something with Kanye where they made his boots, and they continually have these through. They've worked with a number of rappers, a number of fashion designers. So the point that I'm making is that simply because these shoes are appearing in fashion shows does not mean that they are not going to gain wider appeal. they have plenty of wider appeal, and Zellerfeld is being very intentional about creating a really good, very focused product. And the reason I know that this is their model is because they raised funding from Founders Fund about 2 years ago, which, by the way, congratulations, guys. Good for you. Founders Fund, if you're familiar with the VC world, is the founding fund run by Peter Thiel, who started PayPal with Elon Musk and a number of other guys like Reid Hoffman and so on and so forth, who you might have known. The PayPal Mafia is their thing. But to get into Founders Fund, they have a very specific sort of company and a specific sort of model that they pursue. That's very emblematic of like the model that Tesla did, which is start expensive, and as the cost comes down, you increase scale so that you can own the market, but you have a beachhead. So this is what Zellerfeld is doing, is they're maintaining their beachhead here in designer shoes until the scale arrives, either through the production of their own technology, which they're continuing to develop, or something else. And what is fantastic about this is that by building this high-end consumer products brand, they're in a really good position to be very attractive when they start opening it up more and more. Right now they do limited runs, exclusive designs with designers. And by the way, Zellerfeld, if you watched them over the last year when they've really been public about what they've been doing, they iterate really fast. The guys are doing a great job on that, which is the benefit of 3D printing. But everything from the site to the type of products that they were offering were changing and evolving very quickly. So Zellerfeld, I think, is going to be a reasonable sized company inside of the 3D printing space at some point in the future, so long as they don't fall into commoditization, which is possible, very possible with shoes, and is a easy distraction if you're not focused. But anyhow, continuing on with this, the French luxury fashion house debuted its new 3D printed shoe on the runway for Pharrell Williams' 2024 LV men's pre-fall show at Hong Kong's waterfront Avenue of Stars. Holy cow! Pharrell's fashion show in Hong Kong. That's where they came through. The silhouette is in the same vein as some of recent Zellerfeld collaborations, specifically with its similar design language with the slip-on upper, but the Louis Vuitton branding and its signature LV monogram flower logo helped distinguish the pair from the rest. Yes, Zellerfeld shoes are generally chunky, which makes them good for the Gen Z fashion sense, but whatever. All right, that's the news. Moving on, Kickstarter. The testing Kickstarter. If you haven't already, go check out our testing Kickstarter. We're going to start releasing a lot of formal testing videos in the new year, one way or another. We've been doing the demo ones here for the last little while. Another one actually probably released just before this podcast. I recommend you go watch that. It's about wall thickness. It's kind of fun. But the Kickstarter right now is 50% funded. We have about 15 days left of a 30-day campaign. So it's on track, but it's also it goes slower here. You always have the spike at the beginning, it goes slow, and then there's generally another spike at the end if we wanted to really push hard on it. But the Kickstarter is 50% funded. We're trying to get up and over that edge. The goal of the Kickstarter, as we've discussed before, is to get testing of filament and print properties so that there's a really detailed database around it. And we mentioned and announced this on the Kickstarter too, but all of that data will be made openly available, either through a Google Drive or we have it on the books to build a website around it. But guys, we're busy. We're really busy. We just came out of a Christmas season that just, it hurt. So we're busy. And we're going into a new year where we're also exceptionally busy. Side note on that too, anyone who is currently waiting for quotes on our production side, our apologies. The quoting team is very behind. Everyone decided that they wanted to make stuff in December, and that is not the time to make that decision. So they're working through them. They're trying to get to you. We're doing our best. If we miss you, please ping us or something along those lines. But we're doing our best with the limited size of the team that we have for that area because it hasn't scaled up yet, and it appears to be a spike. We're trying to get past it. But the Kickstarter's there. Please help out if you want to. There's two tiers, a $20 tier and a $500 tier if you want to sponsor a video, effectively sponsor a video. You get to pick what material we do. We're not going to do a sponsored message, but if you are a filament company, you can have us test your filament, and that's okay. Okay. Yeah, this will be super useful. A few people have asked for a middle ground tier. We don't know what to do with that, guys. We'll probably introduce it of like, yeah, $100. Somebody had a really good idea for like a lab monkey for that, because we have lab rat, research scientist. We can have a lab monkey in between there. But we don't know what to give you for that, guys. If you're happy with the $20 tier and you want to give us more, we won't stop you. And we appreciate it greatly. But we don't know what a fair compensation is for that. Regardless of how the Kickstarter goes, we're working around other plans too, just in case the Kickstarter goes south. You always want a plan B. We're working on plans B if for some reason it doesn't go through there, but it's a whole lot easier if plan A works. So check out the Kickstarter. And thank you again to everybody who has already supported the Kickstarter. It's really cool. Obviously, there is a need and a demand for that type of content. So we'll figure out a way of getting it done one way or another. Okay, product updates. Etsy. The Etsy app. Again, we got through Christmas. We shipped everybody's orders. We had a number of snafus, guys. It is a beta product, and there's absolutely going to be bugs in it. And add insult to injury and that kind of stuff. The lead developer on that project got into a car accident in early December, so he wasn't available to help out with certain parts of it too. So there were a number of snafus. But we shipped all the orders that came through us for the folks who were using it there. It's cleared out and it's kept up and it's being maintained right now. There have been a number of big pushes here in the last week to fix a number of bugs for people. Again, a number of people were having issues with an on-off button, and we had a billing issue, which I am not defending in any format. We had a billing issue, and when you guys give us credit card information, it is our job as an organization to respect that. There were a couple of false purchases that came through that were unapproved. We fully refunded them, and any of those customers who had that issue, we also sent along a $50 a PayPal payment for the inconvenience, because that's something that should not occur. And we want to apologize to that for anybody who ran into it there. It was only about 4 instances that we're aware of. And yeah, we dug into that data real hard to make sure that it was fixed. So yeah, our apologies on that to anybody who was involved with that. We've contacted all of you, I believe. But it is something that we could scrape underneath the rug and just say, it didn't happen, but it did. And there's no reason to hide that kind of stuff, because then you start hiding bigger stuff. So there it is, bearing our soul on that part. So the Etsy app most certainly had bugs, but overall is working quite well. We've been happy with it. The project is certainly continuing on, and we're going to be making it more feature rich here over the next month or so, as well as building out more resources around it about how to build your Etsy store and how to pick products and that kind of thing. So the Etsy app will, I think, get a lot more interesting. There's also a component of it that is that we'll talk about more, but it will be pretty darn significant. It will change the dynamics of selling 3D printed models. Pretty sure. So, but that will come in the new year. Spoilers. Okay, on the topic of coming into the new year, we will have a couple of videos coming out over the next couple of weeks. One will be a review of previous 2023, where we will literally review everything that we did. All the projects that we worked on, what we launched, what we screwed up, what went well, all that kind of stuff. And then in a separate video, we will do a projection of projects that we have scoped out for the new year. These are things like the Austin factory and a number of software releases. Like the API we'll be releasing here in a few weeks, very soon. We ended up skipping over the Christmas season for the sake of focusing on things like Etsy and that kind of thing. We don't want too many irons in the fire when we're taking care of core projects. During Christmas, our job is to get parts out the door as fast as we possibly can. But yes, coming in the new year, we will be have a number of those coming down. We'll announce those projects, a number of those projects, and then of course those projects will get more detail as they go by. Now that we are through the Christmas season, there's still going to be about 1 or 2 weeks of funniness on the YouTube channel here, because we're still the Christmas season extends past Christmas. Because people shop all the way up to the 24th, and that can't always ship then. So there's still a backlog to be worked through. So it's going to be about early to mid-January before that backlog is fully out. And then we'll be into normal production projects and that kind of thing. So if you're looking for quotes and quick turn production, mid-January. We're booked. But we're working to expand capacity as much as possible, and that will be part of the 2024 announcements video and that kind of stuff of how much new stuff we're putting in. Okay, let's see other things. I think that's pretty much it. Pretty much wraps it up, guys. Comment down below other topics that you want to have us cover. We're trying to formalize the podcast a little bit more. It's like, hey, they even have new and improved show notes for me. We're trying to dive deeper into news and kind of educational topics around the industry. We might do like a discussion question and that kind of stuff we'll expand into. There will be guests starting to come onto the podcast starting in about February is when, I'm going to say March. We're doing the interviews and filming all the stuff beforehand, but when it drops, we'll see. So yeah, the podcast will be changing. A number of the video formats will be changing. We'll have a few more regular series. And of course, the design for mass production series will continue on. The testing series will join it. And then real 3D printed products will continue on. Do send us comments on those. If you know any cool operators that are doing 3D printed cool operators doing 3D printed products, reach out and please let us know. Okay, that's about it, guys. We'll let you all go there and have a very happy new year. I'll see you again in 2024, and it's going to be a good year. And by the way, don't do the New Year's resolutions. If you're waiting until New Year's, you should have done it 3 months ago. Go start your stuff right now. Get out there. It's a cool day. It's a new day. Have a great day, everybody.